On today's episode of The Unemployed Farmer, where if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, we're going to talk about tomatoes. I got a few different kinds of tomatoes growing behind me, and I got them growing very close together. I'm like 12 to 18 inches apart. I got them trellised straight up, and I use greenhouse frames to hold them up with a ridge line down each one of them to make them grow straight up. I'm going to talk about hard pruning and getting rid of suckers and how I trellis and all that kind of good stuff today. So, right back to you. On my plants, I'm growing them between 12 and 18 inches apart depending on where you're at, and I prune mine very hard to get rid of all the excess leaves so that you maximize the amount of energy the plant produces to put them into the tomatoes. Everything you see that's below where the tomatoes are growing, I snip off, as you see right there. And what that does is keeps everything as high as possible and you're not wasting energy growing leaves. And I do that on every one of them. Out here, I have roughly 170 plants in a 20 by 50 area. And I'm going to show you how to prune them so that you don't have to deal with excess leaves and all that stuff. So right here is a good example. This is a sucker. You want to take those off because this is your main stem. This is your leaf branch, and the sucker grows up in between the two. And you can grow this and have two main stems coming off of it, but what I have found is you lose size and taste out of your plants. That's just my opinion. You can grow more in a close area if you cut these off, and you can just bend them over and they pull off. And then you can see that these have hairs on them, and you can put these in potting soil and make another tomato plant, but I usually don't do that because I already got plenty out here. So this is what I use to trellis. I use a metal landscape staple with baling twine that you can get at co-op. That's cheap. You get like 20,000 foot for 40 bucks or something. And I literally just put the staple in the ground next to it and then wrap it around. It's a little easier with two hands, but I'm making this whole video so you can see what I do. And this promotes them to grow straight up so you can fit more in a row. And this is an indeterminate variety of tomato. This is a sun gold or Cherokee purple. I'm not sure which. It hadn't produced anything, and I got them all mixed up from the get-go in my greenhouse. But once you have them wrapped up like that, I put a knot called 2 half hitches in there, and you can just cinch it down, and then it pulls them tight. Nothing to it. And that's what I've found to be the easiest way to grow tomatoes without having to deal with all the vines and cages and extra leaf everywhere, and it looks like a congested mess. So all of mine are just clean tomato plants, and that's how I like to grow them. I'm growing to sell tomatoes, so I try to put as many as I can in a row without making them fight for nutrients. Most of my beds are 30 inches wide. This back one's about 50, so I have a dual row, and I do something called companion planting as well. And that guy's basil, so I plant basil there, and then I also have a row of marigolds. You can just barely see the marigolds coming up right there. And I use those to attract beneficial insects and keep the bad stuff away. So that's just my 2 cents. feel like this makes it where you can have more production, less weeding, and it's just a cleaner look altogether. You're not dealing with a bunch of vines everywhere and a bunch of leaves. So like here's the first leaf node, or the first place that the tomatoes are going to grow. So these will come off, this sucker will come off, everything below this, and I'll just leave those top leaves. That's what I've found to be the easiest way to maximize production and not spend the nutrients growing just leaves. Well, that'll be it for today's episode of the Unemployed Farmer, where if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.